compliance with Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, entitled Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as specified in the Act. Proper notice of this public meeting was provided in the notice of January. Said notice was posted at the entrance of the board office, mailed to the Nutley Sun, the Star Ledger, the North Jersey Herald News, and the Nutley Journal, mailed to the Nutley Township Clerk, advertised in the Nutley Sun, and posted on the district website. This is an official meeting. Have the flag salute, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Cruiser.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin? Here. Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mr. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Gupta?
Here.
Dr. Reed? Ms. Russo? Here. Mr. Scalera?
Here.
Mrs. Pizzata?
Here.
Mrs. Kaczynski?
Here. Approval of minutes, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion for approval of minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence, Mrs. Higgins?
We do not have any this evening, Mr. President.
We'll take the board secretary's report now, and I guess we'll take Russ's when he gets here, if that's okay, unless you don't have one. Okay.
I just have a very brief report this evening. The open enrollment is well underway. A lot of staff members have already responded to us, and there'll be some reminders sent out along the way so that we can hopefully close it out by November 16th. We've also started the capital asset inventory this week, and a claim has been in. They've already finished here at the middle school, and they started at Lincoln School today. The projects for the bleachers and the high school roof have been filed with the Department of Education. The drawings and specifications are being completed, and everything is currently under attorney review. And that's it for my report.
The projects for the bleachers, the paperwork's been submitted. Just enlighten me a little bit.
That's one of the ROD grant applications, so the architect filed all the paperwork with the state so that we can apply for ROD grant funding, and they are in the process, they've completed the drawings and the specifications.
Okay.
So that's where we're at with those two projects.
Thank you. I know, we're up to your report if you...
You did yours for us.
Did you take it to members here or Tom?
I'm going to give it to Freddie, but we do it.
Keep it shorter and make it longer. I apologize.
I could be sure to do it.
Ms. Malina and I were talking to one of our consultants. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. A number of things since we last met. Professional development, just as a reminder, on November 5th, we're having full-day staff professional development. There's no school for students. The staff will be both involved in our new math series as well as our common assessment and student growth and objective trainings. Language arts Tier 1 and Tier 2 trainings are still going on, and our next sessions are November 1st and 6th. As I talked about, every single teacher who teaches math in the district, K-8, will be involved in math-specific trainings, math and focus on the 5th, so we're looking forward to that. And Mrs. Mary and Mr. Brady are currently working on coverage schedules for our science trainings, which the second of which takes place the week of January 6th. Right now, the teachers are actually using those first rounds of units. We've gotten a lot of great feedback, including some from students. It really has changed how we approach science, and they see a lot of excitement in the classrooms. And even the teachers who were somewhat tentative, as we talked about dealing with live animals and everything else in the classroom, and it seems to be going over great. I'm looking forward to getting more feedback on that. I want to thank Ms. Villani and Ms. Klein. We hosted, as I mentioned before, our Parent Information Night centered on Readers Workshop. We've had some really great attendance and members of the Board of Education. Thank you for being there as well. some good conversation about where the district's going when it comes to literacy instruction and how parents can help with that. On top of which, just to continue, we are working to also have a parent information night focused on math and focus, so that parents can interact. And Ms. Martin is putting together what is actually called the Parent University, which is an online component of the math series that helps parents work with their students at home when it comes to the way math and focus is approaching math instruction. So we're looking forward to having that as soon as we can. The Fairview Camp Lakes trip, both Lincoln School and Spring Garden had their combined outing excursion multiple day. I want to thank the teachers for going. Mrs. Lonnie, Mrs. Rostel, Mrs. DuBois, and myself went up on Thursday, and it's a terrific experience seeing them outside. The parents, we have a big thank you to the parents who volunteered, also chaperone, and we have some of our teachers who, because of personal reasons, couldn't stay over, but still traveled back and forth every day to make sure they were part of it, and they were with their students. It's a great thing to see them out. We joined them on a 3-mile hike. I don't know who complained more, some of the students or some of the parents, but it was just a terrific time, and the weather could have been better for the group, so we're happy about that. Strategic planning. All of our action teams have begun their meetings for the 13-14 year. They're all working toward their year 2 goals. I just want to remind everyone that all the information for each team is on the website. Each team has a central office administrator that's their liaison, Ms. Villani, Mr. Levine, and myself. We're still working with the committees. I know each also has a liaison from the board, and we're moving forward with year 2 strategic planning, so we want to make sure that's forefront. I met with Commissioner Evans and the Economic Development Advisory Committee put together of representatives from the township by, I believe, the mayor and by Commissioner Evans with the other commissioners involved. We met for a number of hours, actually, just a plan on continuing this to support what's strong about Nutley and seeing where we can continue our development, what role the school district plays in that. We talked about how we attract new businesses and new residents to the town by promoting the things that are great about and unique about Nutley. So it was a good conversation. Look forward to more meetings there. Mrs. Woods Murphy, our gifted and talented specialist, was actually featured in a recent article about her move from Northern Highlands here to Nutley. She's been, as we talked about in our open presentation, working to make sure that all the good components of the program continue. She's been traveling from school to school, meeting with the students for full instruction. We'll be starting to work with the teachers again, handling the clusters of our gifted students. We're looking to kind of reinvent and revitalize the programs we talked about while not losing anything. She started to meet with teachers at the different elementary buildings about welfare, make sure that activity is continuing. She's now actually reached out to the high school, their Future Educators of America, to see how we can partner with that group and see how we get some of our students down to the elementary schools. A great experience for them, but also something that could help the gifted students. And she's still continually working with Ms. Maloney about our identification process, how we identify and what we do with that information once we have identified. I want to thank Ms. DeVillio. We talked about a strategic plan and things we're trying to do to make the K-12 district truly a cohesive progression for students from kindergarten through, what information we give to students and what information we give to parents along the way to kind of get more buy-in and more investment from both groups. The counselors, and she lists this as a first, they've been in the classroom, but at this point in time, last week, every counselor was in every classroom, K-12. We're working with freshmen and sophomores at the high school, and then all of our K-6 grade levels, teaching lessons. So again, getting our guidance counselors into the classroom and working with students beyond content as far as giving them a vision of this is why you're in school, this is what school can do for you, and this is what you kind of have to do to make sure that you have opportunity when school's done. We're starting that all the way down at the earliest elementary level. Each lesson is appropriate based on the developmental level of the student. And again, just trying to give everyone a specific focus as to why you're here and why it should be important to you. We get that buy-in from students. Really, it's a terrific thing to help us promote their success. Healthy U kickoff. I want to thank Ms. Sheila Dunn from the Meadowlands Area YMCA, Mrs. Lutz from Chartwells, and Mr. Jones and his staff. We kicked out the grant that we received for Healthy U, kind of really instilling that mindset in students from the youngest possible age that healthy living is good living and that it benefits you in so many different ways. I was there for the kickoff with Mr. Jones. Commissioner Rogers was there as well, so thanks to him and his office. We had a number of staff members from our nurses, our teachers, health and PE teachers, but also we had staff members from other buildings that came over. The kids, the cheerleaders did the presentation. We did calisthenics, we did yoga. I will tell you, every teacher that I saw was participating, which was an interesting sight. And I want to thank Mr. Jones for putting all that together. I apologize, Ms. Enos, we mentioned the bleachers already? Bleachers, Panasonic, we are confirmed we'll be hosting the Panasonic New Jersey Superintendent's Network on October 30th, Wednesday. They'll be visiting the Memorial Spring Garden in Yannicott School to perform instructional rounds. They're working with those building skips, those teacher administrative leadership teams in the building. In the afternoon, I want to thank Roche, but they're going to be hosting our large get-together for the afternoon work over on their site, so we don't have to interrupt instruction, take a classroom or the media center away from any of the buildings. Plus, it's better for parking. Really looking forward to involving our LPDC as well as district administrators in that, and getting some feedback from some people outside the district who do what we do on how well we're doing, and some feedback early October as to how our process is doing. Mrs. Carollo is here, so we're looking forward to visiting their building. We're thanking her and Mrs. McCoy from their teams, their skips for what they've already put in and what they will have to put in. Election day coverage. Obviously, it's passed for the special election, all 5 of our elementary schools plus the high school posted elections. We once again scheduled extra staff and security. We work with Commissioner Petracco and the police department to have members of the department at every polling location. I want to thank them. The buildings were covered from before the polls opened to after the polls closed. I'm happy to say that, again, there were no incidents. In total, security coverage totaled just about $8,200 in expense to the district.
Is that again?
$8,200. To remind everyone, we've been public about this, and mostly here, but just to remind everyone, the ad hoc committee that our president created, with Mrs. Danchek, Mark, Mr. Sclair, and Mr. Klein, they've been working continually, and Mr. Sclair has been bouncing all over town. We've established alternate locations for Radcliffe School, Washington School, Lincoln School, and Yannicott School, and we continue to work for a viable solution to Spring Garden. We've been in touch with the town, as well as the county on selections, and they're amenable to these changes, but they did ask that we wait until after the November election when they have the resources back together and can focus. But our goal is right now to make sure that those are in place as soon as after this most recent upcoming election, so that this is the last time we have to worry about those security issues at the elementary level. The high school, I don't know if we're really going to find a significant change in the way it's set up. It's far more secure. We have gates and the rest. We can control that environment a lot more than some of the elementary schools, but I want to thank them for their work. But also remind everyone that we are working to try and make sure this is no longer not a lingering security issue. As for the upcoming election, November 5th, just as a reminder, there are no students in the buildings, so that should not be an issue. I want to thank Mrs. Alessio, Mrs. Despodo, Mrs. Marin, and Mr. Biemeister. Our October 15th state reporting went extremely smoothly. And when I mean that, as far as from the outside, it went extremely smoothly. Behind the scenes, we took care of a lot of last-minute pieces that we could not have predicted, and just want to thank everyone for making sure those submissions, that snapshot went through. Saturday the 19th, students in Nutley High School staff with PSAT. We had approximately 350 students working both with our new staff member, Mrs. Mehta, and Mr. Banya, to make sure that those kids were taking that assessment and that we can use that information appropriately. It's the highest number of students who sat with PSAT in the past 7 years. So we want to keep moving that number up. 3 generations of art teachers. I don't know if everyone in district with board membership has well gotten an email, but our teachers from not 3 different generations have put together a show of sorts of their work. It's the Oxford Township Municipal Building Gallery. It's already open, and it's continuing, so if you have a chance to get out there and see what we're doing, it's great because it's the same kind of thing that they bring into the classroom. But again, Mr. Anders, also Miss Hillary Hill, and Miss Summery, Alan Burns Summery is still continuing to work with us right now. They all have art displays exhibits, so I want to congratulate them. Upcoming events at the high school, the 29th, a week from tomorrow. We have an AP parent meeting. The same way we're pushing the SATs and the PSATs, we're pushing the advanced placement courses as well. Information meeting. I will be there. Mr. Williams will be hosting with a number of the AP teachers coming as well. Just trying to get people focused around what advanced placement is for and what you can do to support your students. The Halloween parties and parades, October 31st coming up. Please remember that Halloween, there's a 12:30 p.m. dismissal and students return at 2 o'clock. We have a professional day November 5th. Hockey face-off dinner Wednesday, November 6th at Parks and Rec, 6:30 in the evening. Teachers Convention is coming up. November 7th and 8th, schools will be closed. The Lions Club Annual Spelling Bee, November 16th in the morning. American Education Week, looking forward to, which is the week of November 18th. and parent-teacher conferences for our K-6 grade levels coming up Tuesday the 19th in the evening and Thursday, November 21st in the afternoon. The last thing I want to talk to the board and the public about is the security drill with the Office of Emergency Management. We tried to plan last year and then we got hit with Sandy. We put it off. We've been working with Mr. Nicolette and the Office of OEM as well as the police department. Really, through OEM, it's in conjunction with all of the town's resources, Department of Public Works, Public Safety. The drill is currently scheduled for a week from today. Information was just posted on the website. We'll be emailing everyone, putting information in the parent portal, trying to make sure everyone is aware. It will take place at Washington School from approximately 12:30 in the afternoon to 2:30 in the afternoon. Number one, we want parents to understand it's just a drill, especially parents of students in Washington School. It really, from a student perspective, is not really going to be any different than any of our normal drills. But we will have, as far as the administration and the staff involved, a much larger presence as we practice. And we're going to do everything as our emergency plans, again, back to Ms. Blunt and her team of principals. We're putting all that together. The drill is designed to kind of test our procedures and our coordination with the various departments in town. Again, there's nothing wrong. We have no reason to believe anything's wrong, but we want to be prepared in the case that something does happen and keeping our students and our staff safe. So again, if you're in the Washington School area and you notice a high number of emergency vehicles, and this includes the larger trucks beyond just ambulances and the rest, fire trucks, etc. It is a drill. If it's possible to avoid the area for that afternoon, we highly recommend it because it will be congested and traffic will be shut down. So we're trying to do our best just to get the message out.
Mr. Lasky, when you mentioned the math program,
Yeah.
we talked about running some type of information gathering at the different grammar schools for the math program. Can we come up with any kind of a date when we can do that yet?
Well, that's why I said, as once Miss Martin is working with Math and Focus, is prepared to open the Parent University online, then once we have that date set, then we will establish dates at the elementary schools we can do this. Or we may have one session, basically.
And also have some information that some of the students are still having trouble logging on for that particular math program. If there's work to be done at home, or even with the social studies program, they're having some difficulty logging on.
Have they talked to teachers?
I would assume that they have talked to teachers, but I'm going to say specifically my school seems to be having some difficulty.
The whole school, or? That's just the first I've heard of it. I haven't gotten any feedback from parents or teachers about this, but this is something that, I mean, any issue that Ms. Martin's attention, as far as I know, has been addressed immediately.
I'll follow up with the principal.
It's specific to them.
Okay.
Yeah, if we know exactly what to look for, we can figure out what's wrong and we can fix that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Committee reports? Okay.
Yes, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, October 17th. At that meeting, we went over the finance agenda items for tonight. We reviewed the long-term facility committee's plans and activities that they were going on. Mrs. Gavin gave us the schedule for budget development and a status. We are on target to complete the budget as planned. And finally, we talked about the process and procedures for submitting student accident insurance claims. If there is any issues around that, we went over the procedures.
Thank you. Finally, any committee reports? Mr. Slade.
You asked me to go to all these things.
Mr. Slade plays a very active role on our board and does attend quite a few of the different committee functions that are going on.
So I'll do the administrative committee first. Administrative committee met on October 15th. Of course, Mr. Kaczynski, myself, Mr. Pizzato, Mr. Lazovich, and we had guests, Mr. Pyro, and coaches Marcelino Mara and Kevin Smythe. Following up on athletics first, which was on the agenda, and you heard me talk about it before, we ran the course for the Coaches Academy over the summertime. They come up with 3 large items, 3 committees, and they're calling from the Coaches Academy. It'll be the Student Athlete Leadership Council, the Athletic Study Hall Program, and Read Across America. They're all very exciting. I'll just give a quick overview of each one. But Read Across America, they're going to participate down to the grammar schools. The athletes are going to go down to the grammar schools and do Read Across America. And they're going to be holding also a literacy fair for all of the students in June in the high school, the wrap-up of that committee. And it goes on to a lot of detail. I'm just giving an overview. We have the leadership team that's going to provide communication link between student athletes and the administration, the coaching staff, how to be future leaders. They're going to have guest speakers. They're going to do roundtables. Really, it's another great program. And then we're going to have the athletic study hall that's going to be starting in the third marking period, where students will be helping students to be 2 nights a week at different times to allow for what sports. I think it's 3 to 5 and 7 to 9, where they can actually go in and get assistance with work and things like that. The coaches are going to be running these programs using students that are higher up in grades to help the lower grades. And it's really a peer-to-peer type thing, but a whole student athletic program. And I want to really state that the athletic department under Mr. Pyro, and I have to say when I say that, he accredits Mr. Lazovich for leading them there. But we're the first municipality in the state of New Jersey. In fact, there's one program that's called SALT. They thought they had a new acronym, Student Athlete Leadership Team. It's actually a national program that's never been used in New Jersey. So we're the first community in New Jersey that's going to be using the SALT program. So I'm pretty excited about that. Continuing on from that meeting, from the administrative meeting, Chartwell's will be coming aboard November 18th to talk about food services. We worked on the communications RFP. I don't know if it came back from the attorney yet since our meeting. We're waiting to come back, so and they're doing the final bid specs, so we can, would have been nice if we had it by drill, but hopefully for the next drill, the communications in place. We went over the personnel committee, the polling committee, the superintendent just updated you on the polling locations. We talked about some budget planning and the rest of the policies that are on the agenda. Fonz? What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that a committee or I
I
don't
don't think
know?
it's really under old business.
Well, business
okay?
called, come on.
Is that right? I want to give a brief little talk on the academic committee. We met on October the 15th. They discussed the long-range facility planning and brought those members up to date on what took place there. They discussed the CUSAC meeting. This district is in compliance with 4 of the 5 areas of CUSAC. The 5th area is not applicable to our district. We talked about the nutrition educational workshop. The committee members asked for additional information before approval of the workshop, and I think we'll have that at the next committee meeting. We talked about shadowing a school psychologist. This is a program where a person is going to be coming in from Seton Hall and request for a 1-day shadowing opportunity for a student in the school psychology program. We talked about the Nutley Youth Survey. Talked about Mr. Lazovich's merit goals. That was a topic of discussion that night also. And that was the academic committee meeting, unless someone wants to update any more of that information. Any other committee reports? Resolutions. We now come to the portion of our meeting where we allow members of the public to address the board. In this section, we allow questions or comments on only the resolutions addressed in tonight's agenda. Our board regulation allows 20 minutes for these communications. Each person should be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try to stay within this requirement. Speakers may speak more than once only after all others wishing to speak on a topic has been heard. All statements will be directed to me as the chairperson. No one may address board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, your participation may be terminated. Please remember to always state your name and address each and every time you address the board. First person come forward. Hearing none, we'll go to resolutions. Mrs. Russo.
Yes, I'd like to move academic resolutions 1 through 3 as listed. I so move.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Administration, Mr. Scalera.
Yes, I'd like to move administration resolutions 1 through 4 as
Second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Personnel, Debbie, can you take personnel, please? I'm sorry.
Finance.
Please, Finance? I'm sorry. Finance, Mr. Coker.
Yes, Mr. President, I move finance resolutions 1 through 10 as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to call the attention that the Washington and Radcliffe's PTOs, the donations that they're making
Yes.
is awarded $12,000 and $1,400.
Good point, thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stanchek Martin? Yes. Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Now, Ms. Russo, will you take personnel resolution?
I'd like to move personnel resolution number 1 as listed. I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stanchek Martin? Yes. Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. In this section, we allow questions or comments on all school-related matters. Our regulations allow 30 minutes for these communications. Again, each person should be limited to 3 minutes. We ask you to try to stay within this requirement. As I stated earlier, all statements will be directed to me. Anyone wish to approach the microphone?
Terry Clark, 45 Hampton Place, spokesperson for the Nutley Current Advocacy Network. I have a letter that I'd like to just read into record, just because it happened on Friday, and some of you have gotten this email, and I actually got a return email, so it's going to, I guess, finish the entire situation. I had received a phone call from a parent of a Washington school child, and she told me that there's a new sign that's up there next to the handicap sign. So,
Excuse me, did you get a response back?
yes, I did. So I just wanted to just clarify. So I wrote this letter to Commissioner Evans with a CC to Mayor Petracco, and Mr. Laspick, and Mr. Kaczynski, and Mrs. Danchek Martin, and Mr. Sposato, and Mrs. Russo, and Mrs. Bolton. And I wrote, Dear Commissioner Evans, this afternoon I learned some information in regards to Washington School and your code enforcement department. I was informed by a parent that there is a new reserved parking spot in the Washington School parking lot. It is located next to the handicap spots in the front of the parking lot. It is a spot that has been designated exclusively for the PTO. There is an attached photo here, which unfortunately comes out horizontal and vertical, and actually I have a photo here. So anyone got a chance to see it? It's right next to the handicap spots. In seeing the sign, I have to say that it raises several questions for me, such as, one, is there a town policy or resolution that mandates that the Board of Education provide a parking spot for PTO members? If so, why aren't there the other schools provided PTO spots as well? I did check at Lincoln and Yanquan. There aren't any designated PTO spots there, nor are there at the high school or Spring Garden. Two, how did the parking spot become approved? Do you approve parking spots as commissioner, or is that the responsibility of the town construction and or zoning official? Three, has the BOE prepared a parking plan, and if so, is that on file at the building department? Four, if that is on file, would the public be able to be provided a copy through Oprah? And I know that I've contacted you previously about that particular building, which in turn prompted Mr. Barry to conduct a traffic study. Please know that NPN is very appreciative of all the work that has been done with the handicap spots in all the schools. I look forward to hearing from you, and I thank you for your attention to this matter. Commissioner Evans replied to me on Saturday, Terry, thank you for your note. To be clear, in general, I do not, nor does the code office approve parking spots on school district property. If it relates to handicap or safety, then the code office and or fire department would get involved to address state code compliance. This matter should be addressed to the superintendent of schools. So I'm here to address that. I'm just wondering, why is it Washington School? And this is no disrespect to the PTO, but you know, there are visitors that go into that school too, and I know that there's visitor spots, so I'm just wondering as to why that happened at that particular school, and it doesn't seem to be happening anywhere else.
The Washington School PTO came up with an idea as a fundraiser
Mhm.
to auction off a parking spot, more as, it's not an official parking spot, to more to have a sign to promote PTO engagement. They ran it as a fundraiser and part of a silent auction, and then they paid to have the sign up there. So it's not an official spot. I'm talking with both code, and I didn't reach out to Commissioner Rose, I actually didn't know what was happening beforehand. Mr. Jones worked with his PTO, seemed like a great thing, got a lot of people involved, raises a good deal of money. And now that spot's used, again, it doesn't affect all of our parking spots and our parking plan are on file, we're completely in compliance with all our ADA. We work with them, as you know, as far as the traffic plan, Mr. Gibbons and I have been there personally, a number of times we've been working with the town, Mr. Ferraro, in taking care of the sidewalk on the side. She's also coming up with a better pickup and drop-off plan that we can implement. None of that related to the PTO work, they were running a fundraiser.
So who's going to be parking there?
Every year, I think they're auctioning off silently that spot so parents can bid on that, and then for the year,
They get to-
they can park there whenever they come after hours.
Oh, after
It's
hours.
not, it's not,
For the PTO members.
So, okay. I'm just wondering, because we really seem to have a lot of emphasis on parity within schools. And I'm just wondering why this just seems to be something that... Mr. President, I've been here before you in regards to that particular building, and once again, the person who came to me, Mr. President, didn't see it as at that. I mean, she was not aware of that. So has everyone known that? I mean, is that out in do all the parents know?
Now you can take the answer back to that particular person. The Washington School representative to that PTO will certainly inform the Washington School parents of why that's going on. Had another school, Yannico or Spring Garden or any other school, approached us, the superintendent, with that proposal to create a fundraiser for the children, I'm sure we would have considered it at any school. They were inventive enough or creative enough to come up with that at Washington School. I applaud them.
Okay, I was just wondering because, like I said, it seems kind of odd, and I've never, ever, in all my years in schooling, have ever seen a different type of, other than a visitor sign and a handicap sign, that's the only kind of sign I've seen.
We have new and energetic PTO members at all of our schools, and I applaud them for coming up with new ways to raise money for our children.
Okay. I just have one more issue. It's in regards to this particular building. There seems to be a real problem, and if I saw Mr. Nicoletti here, I would be bringing it up to him, in regards to wasps. They seem to have infested in one section of the roof, and they are now coming down into the classrooms, and I'm just wondering, I know that districts have to go under these green initiatives, and they seem not to be as potent as actual pests. No, this is right here, sir. Right
I'm
here.
sorry, I haven't done this. Okay, so we'll definitely look into it.
Okay, but in the meantime, what are we doing? Are we going to still use those classrooms?
we're alerted. We have custodians inspecting those classrooms every day. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations we don't want to be reactive because we know they were there. So they started coming in. We've had exterminators 3 times at this point, and I haven't heard anything recently this week. So even last week, I get emails from parents and residents. Students do go home with their issues. We certainly don't want an unsafe environment. If ever was deemed to be, we move the classes. But we've got our custodial buildings, ground staff, Mr. Nicola, as I said, has had exterminators in here as best we can. Unless we're made aware of a new problem, my understanding is that the issue's been addressed.
Okay, all right, thank you, because I'm still hearing that they're still there. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kaczynski, talk about fundraising? No?
Is there anything else under hearing of citizens? Is there any old business that comes before the board?
Yes, I have 2 things. I have Fonz and I have Walker Middle School PTO. The Friends of Nutley Singers had their first meeting of the year. The reorganization went real well. They adopted new bylaws, made some changes. On November 9th and November 10th, there'll be a dance competition in the high school. They run the concession there, and it's all profit. They'll be involved in Mayor's tree lighting. November 18th, they'll do it's a fundraiser, the holiday benefit over at St. Mary's. And this year, they brought the Magical Feast back. I'll let you know what that is. It's going to be their comedy
You don't
night.
have a date yet?
Not enough for the Magicals, they're gonna do a big fundraiser on that, they brought that back, hasn't been here in a while. We approved tonight their trip to Montreal, where they're actually going to be performing at Notre Dame and Olympic Park, and they'll also be reviewed by masters of music, who are distinguished in that area, so it's a really great program. They're involved in the Triad of Music Society, and what's nice about that is 11th to 12th graders, they have to maintain a B average in their academic courses to be able to be involved in that program. In the North Region Choir and Junior program, which is really exciting, and I have to really say thanks to Mr. Valleys, he's on that committee. We've always had the high school involved in that, but for the first time ever, our junior high school will also be involved in this regional choir and junior regional choir. We've never done that before. So they have a lot of great things going on. It's really exciting, and they're moving forward. On Walker Middle School, just real quick, they have a PT council meeting on October 21st. The next one's on the 24th. They have their welcome back dance. Things went well. They have some extra money. They're working with the principal of the Seeger right now of what she may need in one or two of the classrooms. She had some ideas. Their Halloween dance is coming up on the 25th. They've already booked their graduation party and their, pretty much that's all. So, thanks, Mr. Jackson.
Any other old business?
I have old business. I just wanted to thank our World Language Department, Mr. Material, and Mr. Zucchino. They had 4 students from the high school do a presentation at the Nutley Unico Columbus Day ceremony at the statue. They did a great job preparing the kids, and the kids did a great job. They spoke to our Italian guests in Italian and interpreted it in English, and they really did a great job. So I want to thank the department, superintendent, and thank the kids who did a great job.
Any other old business?
Just one thing.
Sure.
In regards to, this is actually a thank you to Russ. I didn't even realize it at the time of the time that it was brought in with Performance Matters, which is a tool that this district has utilized to help analyze our data. I had the opportunity to review the contracts of Performance Matters with the district that I work in, as well as I got to see other districts with their contracts. It's actually it's about almost $17,000 professional development package that you typically buy when you bring in these types of programs. And I don't even think we ever said thank you for that, because our district, we actually didn't buy the $17,000 package because Russ and Andrew and anybody else had. Andrew, yeah, it actually did the professional development for the staff, saving the district $17,000, which when he found out that I was in the district, he said, "Well, would you like to do the same thing that Nutley did?" And I said, "No, we'll take the package." Because it is a bonus. It is a tremendous amount of work, but I definitely think we should thank the guy and his staff for taking that on, because that's a huge endeavor.
Good point.
And that's, again, just to echo that, that's our administrators, our teacher leaders. It's a work in progress. We're a long way to go, but I appreciate it. Trying to keep it quiet.
Any new business coming before the board? I have one piece of new business, and I don't mean to ever embarrass the person, but I see the editor of Nutley Sun here, Owen Proctor, and I have to thank you, Owen, for the job that your staff does reporting on our board meetings, our board agenda, our board coverage. I think has been a lot more on point, to say the least. I thank you for the help you give us. Any other new business? Whereas the Board of Education will be discussing matters exempt from public discussion pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12, and therefore be resolved, the Board of Education recessed to close executive session at this time to discuss student matters and attorney-client privilege. Be it further resolved that the result of this discussion be made public by inclusion on the agenda of a subsequent meeting of the Board of Education, or when the reasons for discussing such matters in closed session no longer exist. Do I hear a
Second.
second? Roll call. Doug? All ayes. Thank you.